In today's JWE3 news, we have the Distortus Rex trailer. Everybody expected this. We have a stream as well that Frontier put out, which has quite a lot of content in it. We're not going to go through everything in that, but we'll cover on a few highlights that I noticed. I didn't watch the full thing. I skipped through a little bit looking for specifically a few areas that seemed interesting or had commentary. We also have images of all the variants coming in the DLC. This is something that was very interesting to me and I really wanted to see. Um, and we have a new behind the scenes article. So let's start with the Distortus Rex trailer. We've always started these with the new species trailers, so that's a good place to begin. Yep, you better run. All right. Well, that was weirdly short. I don't really have much to say about this. I'm not a fan of the Distortus Rex, just as a creature. I'm very curious about if he has a unique forelimb footprint with the knuckle walking, which is definitely not a thing dinosaurs would be doing, but whatever. Um, Weirdly sparse video. It's just like, yep, here's a Distortus, and then he goes on a rampage immediately. Um, yeah, not much else to say about that one. This release animation is obviously very unique, with him reaching out onto the side of the hatchery, but sure. Now, a lot of these were revealed on the stream. I don't know if they're on the stream first, if they're online first. Um, but we got like better quality ones here anyway, better than just watching them through the stream. And this includes, I think, every variant and skin included in the DLC. I didn't notice anything missing. Well, I guess like the movie skins for the new animals aren't in here. These are the animals outside of the four new species. And we're starting with the new T Rex, the Tyrannosaurus. This is commonly referred to as Ember. I really like this design of this T Rex with this like chunkier build. He's got the little like feature scales there on the face. So that's probably the only detail of this Rex that I'm not like over the moon about. I really like the chunkier build. I love the stripes and the coloring. He looks great. I with a lot of these models, I really want to see them in game, zoom in on them, and like see them walk around a lot and like see their animations to really get a full sense of how much I like them. But like I like the T Rex. I like this Rex a lot. Looking very good. Um, they're just like I'm always slightly worried sometimes that some of these like variants will be very obviously just simple reworks of the base model. Um, but I see no reason to be like overly concerned in that regard here yet. Um, Next we have the Spino. Now, unfortunately, this shot of the Spino. Oh yeah, I guess yeah. With the Spino, they don't have all three skins here in this shot. They just have the one. This is a very bad, a very bad screenshot to use to reveal the Spinosaurus in like 3/4 profile in the back. Like it's a good screenshot generically speaking. It just doesn't serve to show the animal very well. You know what? Neither does the Rex one. These are like halfway teased because the Rex is submerged, so you don't get a good look at him. You don't get a good look at him because he's in the back in the corner. But about what you'd expect, right, with the Spino. I have more to say on the Spinosaurus later. Dilophosaurus, this is obviously the most clear one. I mean, this is nothing holds a candle to the original Dilophosaurus design, right? The 93 Stan Winston animatronic with the frill patterning and coloring is incredible. And even like the green and black patterning on the body is fantastic with like the little white outlines around the black sections. Gorgeous animal. This doesn't live up to that. I like the frill. I like the spotted frill a lot. Not as much as the original design, but I think it's a good alternate take on the Dilo frill. But this guy's body, his crest and everything, very bland. Only the frill here does anything to make it more interesting. However, I will say, leagues better than the Dominion Dilo. The Dominion Dilo was just mud. So I like this as an alternative. I enjoy this. So I'm happy to see this skin in the game. The Quetzalcoatlus, this one stands out. The wing here, again, we saw this with like the Mutadon, had this really sold like the translucent like light shining through from the back vibe. Very curious to see this under different lighting conditions and how much it actually looks like that in game versus how like potentially deceptive these screenshots might be. But the wing membrane here looks incredible. I'm not the biggest fan of this Ket's design. I really wish this would have been a different Asdarkid in the film. And in one of the scripts, it's even referred to as a Thanatos, so like Thanatos Dracon. I would have preferred that. It's so substantially different than the other Kets that it's just like, why is it the same animal? I don't hate the design, but it's also like weird. Like the quills those are fine, I guess. The hook on the beak is like very over the top. The very thin lower beak with this like very big upper beak is also just a little strange, but it's not the worst design we've ever had. And I mean, I think it's going to be, I feel like it's probably going to end up being very incredible in game, just judging by like the way it looks here. Then we got the Velociraptors, which I guess don't get. Why is the Velociraptor screenshot formatted differently? It's still got all of the Evo 3, like, the overlay here. It just doesn't have a label for the species name. I mean, we know what it is. So this is where a lot of controversy's been coming in. So in the film, they're both quilled, and it really looks like this guy here is not quilled. I've seen people online, like, highlighting some little artifacts here, and be like, no, look, he's got quills. See, there's one there, one there, one there. And that's like, insane. You can't tell. That's probably just grass or other like artifacts of the image. Like you can't tell. You could very clearly tell this one is quilled. This one really doesn't look like it's quilled. They say some stuff on stream about these guys. We'll go through that when we get to the stream section of the video, and we'll let that speak for itself, and I'll have more commentary there. But like ignoring the thing going on here with the quills, which again will have a hint towards what might be going on here with that. Other than that, the body patterning looks great. Some people like really love these raptors. I mean, I'm still at the end of the day a Lost World Tiger Raptor enjoyer, but I mean these are good patterns to have. They're great looking. The raptors are like more than any other animal. Maybe less so in JWE3. From what I remember, the males were all right, but in like JWE2 especially, the raptors were like the poster child of only use the film skins because the other skins are completely dog shit. So getting more good film skins to the raptors is just a win for them. And finally, the Mosasaurus. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really talked much about the Mosasaurus in all this like lead up to Rebirth. I don't really like aquatics in the game. I think they're very underwhelming. But I gotta give a shout out to this guy for being a way better Mosasaur design than the Jurassic World one. Like this is so much better. Obviously, like the Mosa, this really replaces the base game Mosa for me. Outside of like explicitly a Jurassic World build, and like the T-Rex also really replaces the base game T-Rex for me. Outside of again a build that needs specifically one of the other film Rexes. Like the variants are what sell this pack for me as far as the animals go. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so the stream we're going to look at a few highlights on, and then I recommend if you are interested in the rest of the video, you watch that yourself. It is like 45 minutes. If I go through that video at the typical pace I go through a video, we will be here until tomorrow, and the game comes out, and I don't want to do that. So the stream like started with the trailer, then it went into the the guys on the couch talking about the game, and then into some the Distortus Rex trailer and a little Distortus Rex key art thing here, like the main screenshot. And then they had some little segments just highlighting the Tyrannosaurus and the Spinosaurus. Let's start with the Spinosaurus briefly, actually. I wasn't going to cover this, but I think I should mention this.
So yes, so we got.
I think. I don't know if it's just me. I haven't studied the Spinosauruses in Rebirth extensively, and I'm not saying this looks bad. It seems a little laggy, doesn't it? Like, I feel like I could almost see the bones of the existing Spinosaurus here. Like, this doesn't feel any lower slung to the ground at a glance than the Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus does. Um, let me find a little art here. See, this Ludia art is what I think of when I think of the Rebirth Spinosaurus. Very low slung, close to the ground, his hands almost touching. This is not what this guy looks like in Jurassic World Evolution 3. Am I going crazy here? Is this... I think they reused the Spinosaurus skeleton from Jurassic Park 3. Like, way more erect, right? Way longer proportional legs to the arms. Doesn't have that almost knuckle dragging walk. Even the proportions of the neck feel a little different to me than like how it actually looks in like the film and stuff. I don't know. I'm a little skeptical of that. One thing I will say is making the legs a little proportionally longer will make the juveniles feel more like they could actually grow into this animal, because as a variant, of course, this doesn't have male-female dimorphism or juveniles, right? So yeah, this is probably the big design concern I saw out of the variants personally. More so than the quills and the raptor, which we'll look at next. So if we go to 1900, so yeah, they highlight the spinal here briefly in footage, then they talk about the variants, and when we get to the raptors here, let's listen to what he says.
Rebirth skin, you know, very, very large sort of crests on the top, and that, you know,
yeah, that's how a Dilo works.
Speckled pattern. That's also in the Rebirth expansion.
Really cool. And then, last but not least, we have 2 skins, right, for the Velociraptors.
We do, yeah, but if you blink, you'd miss them in the film, I think.
A little shade.
Skins for Velociraptor here, not just for the female though. These were also for the male. And if you look even closer, we won't show it off here, but you'll see that it's a nice bit of dimorphism we've added for these 2 skins too.
Amazing. No, these ones look great. Yep, absolutely. Nice little recreation there of Mutatons fighting off against the Velociraptors. Speaking of skins, we also have...
Okay, so some people interpret that, what he says there, dimorphism, male and female skins. Some people interpret this to say that both of these skins are available for either male or female. And they're thinking, oh, the animal you make a male will have the quills, and the animal you make a female will not have the quills. I don't know if that's true. I'm not sure that's actually what he means here. I think this might be a frontier moment of where, you know, the person speaking live on stream doesn't say something wrong. They say something that's inadvertently open to interpretation. All I'm saying is, if the DLC comes out and you can switch the skins between male and female for these 2 raptors, and the male has the quills and the female doesn't, and that dynamically changes for which skin you're using, great. But if that's not the case, just be prepared for that, okay? When they say male and female skins, that could mean literally one is male and one is female. When they say dimorphism, they literally mean that one has quills and one doesn't. That could be a literal interpretation of what he's saying. Just be aware of that. That's all I want to say on that. Some people were like, no, just listen to the stream. It's totally fine. The quill switch, it's whatever. No, not necessarily. It very well might be that. It very well might not be that. Just temper your expectations. Near the end of the stream, they talk a little bit about traits. The experimental traits are something that I am very interested in. I'm always looking for new managerial angles in this game. Things that make it a little more interesting on that front. And so these are very compelling. Now, they don't go through all these. They don't go through most of these. But the first thing I want to highlight here is they do have a dedicated little spot in the research tree. This is probably a good sign that these are available in Sandbox. But not necessarily confirming they'd be available in Sandbox. But they did design like a unique section here for this, the research tree.
You can make them...
We're going to listen to this segment.
For example, as well. But there's loads and loads to discover, and I think I'm not going to give them all away.
Yeah, even the descriptions here for like Venomous doesn't tell you what this actually really does for you.
Amicable trait, and what we're going to do is with this assignment is we're going to make our Aqualops amicable, which I think we'd agree that from the film,
Slight spoilers for the campaign, by the way.
To considering how.
This is just one of the side missions.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll jump in
So, yeah.
and take a look at the smaller of the new species. Here it
So
is.
yeah, here we can see the
Obviously, we have,
Aqualops. You can see the 2025 skin is female. This is not shocking. It's named Dolores, so yeah, you'd expect that, right?
full family unit, right, Andy, with this one?
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, obviously, beautiful model.
Good. We've seen this before. This is not new. Just the listing of the traits. There's only 6 here. What were the other ones? I didn't notice that. Well, hold on. Okay, I'm only now noticing that when I posted the screenshot earlier of the traits, there were only 7 on that shot. And here, there's only 6. This one is missing Hardy. When we look at the research tree, yeah. So 8, we've already seen... Oh, wait a second. Okay, I know what it is. So we saw... early on, when we first learned about the traits, we saw venomous and poisonous, and I was confused by that. Right here, it's the venomous tile, and then when they're actually on the animal interface, this doesn't have venomous, it has poisonous. And probably what's going on here is those are separate ones, because venomous is probably caused by an animal attacking, and poisonous is probably caused by an animal being attacked. So the reason this Aqualops doesn't have venomous is because it can't attack things. It can only be poisonous. It can only be eaten by a T-Rex and then give that T-Rex a tummy ache. And that's why we also didn't see on the Titanosaurus screenshot venomous, because sauropods are incapable of combat. Yeah.
Assets
That's still there.
And we've worked really closely
Okay, so amicable. Makes a species happy to cohab with all other species. Other species without this trait may not feel the same way in return. So amicable, we already knew there was a trait that did this, that altered cohab, but it is, confirmed to be amicable. There's not really much other traits it would have been. We see exactly how it works here, that it's just full on maximum cohab, which is good to have. It's nice to be able to use that when you want to. The interesting thing here is this goes from 0 to 100% when he clicks on it. It doesn't seem like it has gradings, which kind of makes sense, right? Because giving a 25% chance for this to appear on an animal would mean that 75% of your herd would be pissed off and only 25% would be happy, and it'd be kind of weird and pointless. So instead, this seems to have just a 4 cost. You can see right there by the foot, and then it just jumps immediately from 0 to 100. And we know that's not true for the other traits. We saw before... I don't remember where, but we saw one that ticked up twice. And you could see here when they're hovering on bioresistance, it has a 2. So I think what happened was probably we saw somebody modify bioresistance somewhere. I don't remember where. And that goes 0, 50, 100 for 2 per tick, right? One thing that was interesting at launch is they added a lot more modification points to animals. And that was always weird, right? It was why did they... add, +6 essentially to every returning animal for gene mod points in this game. I wonder if this was always a system that was planned. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rebirth DLC has been planned for this game since before launch. I would not be surprised if JWE3 itself in general was developed in tandem with the Rebirth expansion, at least preliminary, initial ideas for Rebirth. I'm not saying necessarily they were coding the Rebirth expansion at the same time they were making the launch version, but I think, pen and paper type ideas, right? The ideas board was being generated at the same time. Because I feel like this experimental trait system was already planned before launch, and they accommodated this system by giving the animals more modifications ahead of time. It's my theory. It's a game theory, if you will. So yeah. I think that's everything I really want to cover here in the video. Just seeing how that is set up there and, actually seeing precisely the effect of amicable. Worth pointing out, no drawback apparently on amicable. It really seemed like these would be have drawbacks inherent to them, and this one doesn't seem to have it. So maybe that's not inherently how the system works. Unless the drawback here is just not apparent from the description in the hatchery. Maybe there is a hidden drawback to this. I don't know. You would expect if you're giving an animal perfect cohabitation, it would take some sort of knock maybe on like appeal to make up for that, because if you give every animal amicable, you could throw them all in one single giant enclosure, which could be fun, but which also could be overpowered. So yeah, we'll have to see how that works. I mean, this all comes out tomorrow, so we'll know pretty quickly. Let's take a look at the behind the scenes article next. All right, so this article, behind the scenes, transforming the dinosaurs from Jurassic World Rebirth, it's basically about bringing the like the ILM renders or the designs of the animals to life in the game and the challenges that presents. Oh yeah, also let me make sure that I didn't have any other weird notes to talk about. No. Oh, I didn't mean to. We kind of skipped ahead there in the video a little bit. The midsection of the stream was the opening gameplay from the campaign, just the start of the campaign. I got distracted and I forgot that I was going through stepwise and talk about everything else in the stream. That's what was in the middle. That's the part I skipped. Anyway, in today's behind the scenes, learn how we brought each species that features in Universal and Amblin's Rebirth to life in JWE3, from building the highly detailed models to animating their behaviors and giving the dinosaurs a voice. Is this literally a voice, like the sound design? It could be. Finer details. The dinosaur creation process for JWE3 involves a slightly different, the JWE3 Rebirth expansion specifically. It was slightly different than when we built our base game dinosaurs from scratch. We were incredibly grateful to our partners at Universal and Products and Experiences for providing the team with fantastic film quality 3D models as part of the collaborative creation process, featuring a huge amount of detail to be able to bring these animals to life on the silver screen. Our character team took these complex assets and transformed them into workable, game-ready models, while maintaining the high level of visual fidelity that our players love and expect. In the case of the cats, the raw files we received were incredibly large, probably in part because of how much, extra stuff is going on here in the model, like the quills, right? It's not a smooth animal. Let's actually have it on screen, huh? It's not a smooth animal. It's got all these individual little quills, which increases the complexity of the model. So that's understandable why that would be like that. So yeah, the cat's raw files were large, hundreds of texture maps. Our talented team used these amazing assets to faithfully create the dinosaurs inspired by those in the Rebirth. Faithfully create dinosaurs inspired by those in the Rebirth film. That's a weird way to say that. Reworking the small details to deliver workable models that can be used in game. I guess the literal thing is inspired by, in the sense of like we have to kind of downgrade these models. Raw asset model before translating final details is what this is labeled here. So this is, I guess, the low res render. And then yeah, down here we have the displacement map with all the fine details translated. So that's when he gets all those little like wrinkles and stuff. Okay. One of the biggest parts of we're right here. One of the biggest parts of the process is translating all the fine scale and wrinkle detail into usable displacement maps so that each model looks and feels as close to the film as possible. So yeah, basically they're saying this is the in-game raw model, which is much lower res than like a film asset, because instead of like rendering the wrinkles and stuff, they're using like displacement map type stuff to add complexity to the model without the expensive like rendering budget of a film project, right? Because you wouldn't want to be doing that on your desktop computer. Using a variety of tools, the team converted all the detail from the provided models into a precise grayscale map, which then applied into a working ZBrush model to rebuild all that high-level detail. It takes time as each ridge of skin and wrinkle of a wing or quill has to be translated over into the model before it is passed into our reading and animation teams. We also have to consider how this detail will appear to players in a game. Let's not reveal this screenshot down here yet. This one is like really nice. I want to talk about this a little bit. Interacting with the world around it, like light sources. To add a further level of life-like elements, we use new transmission and subsurface scattering technology from the base game to bring the membrane of the Quetzalcoatlus wings to life. Yeah, this is what I'm going to talk about. Light passes through the thin skin of the wings, naturally exposing the veins, folds, and wrinkles. Once illuminated by the sun, players will be able to see small tears in the membrane. That could be from prior injuries. This fierce predatory pterosaur sustained while hunting. These small touches enhance the intensity and detail of the dinosaurs in JWE3 Rebirth expansion. This is a cumbersome name. Jurassic World Evolution 3 Rebirth expansion. It feels like it should be like the Rebirth expansion or something. I don't know, man. Or just Jurassic World Evolution 3 Rebirth. Calling it the Rebirth expansion just feels weird to me. That's like the nitpickiest nitpick of all nitpicks, but you know. Showing players and fans the dinosaurs they experienced in the film up close and personal. Look at this beautiful screenshot. Look at the wing membrane detail. That's like fantastic. Do the base game pterosaurs ever look this good? They're saying technology from the base game. It may be like I was actually thinking about this the other day. I don't play on like max settings for stream. Maybe I'm missing something there, like because of that. Maybe I won't be able to experience this glory in full because of that. But yeah, this looks fantastic with like the wing membrane detail. Like, excellent. One thing that is interesting, you can see some damage to like the wing membrane like right here. There's like some small little holes and tears. I wonder if this is going to be a Giganotosaurus situation where every Ketsu release has this exact same injury. Just like how every Giga you release, not just the film skin, but every individual skin has the same scars. I don't like that because I like the injuries when they're on the individual film skins, when they accurately recreate the specific injured animal from the movie. But when every model with every skin pattern combo has the same injury, that feels really weird. So what I personally would like to see is I would like to see this hole in the wing membrane patched for the base game skins, or not the base game skins, but the base skins, and only appearing on the specific Rebirth skin model, which I don't even know if we have a dedicated, I don't remember if we have a dedicated skin for the movie version of this Cats, or if it's just, you know, you make the base game skin, or you make the film skin out of the base skins and the patterns, and one of them just recreates it. But, you know, ideally, I would like to see the injuries only on the animals that are canonically injured instead of every version of that creature you create. Anyway, each of the new species in the Jurassic World Evolution 3 Rebirth expansion includes its own film skin. Oh, well, there we go. Asked and answered. Everyone includes its own film skin as a default option, but many of these species have new alternative patterns for players to choose from. Bleh. I don't like this. When I use a film animal in this game, I want to be able to recolor the pattern it has in the film. I don't want it to have a new pattern. I want a pattern that blends with the film design but allows me to do a new tweak on it. The other problem is, for every, you know, Lost World Stegosaurus variant we get like 4 Dominion Iguanodon variants where they just look awful. So that's the other problem here. I think the patterning on the Rebirth animals is really nice. I don't think they need alternative patterns. I think for like the Lost World Stego, making the variant of that have patterns was good. But I think for most animals, it's not good. Like if we do the Dominion Parasaur, right? Something I really want as a variant. If we do that, and we make that a variant, and we give it a brand new pattern that it didn't have in the films, I will be less happy about it than if it had a pattern that matched one of the existing designs for that animal, right? And I feel like the Kets has stripes and stuff that you could use for the patterning. You can change the different colors of like the body separate from like the wing membrane. The Aqualops, the Titanosaurus, the Spinosaurus, the Tyrannosaurus all very obviously have very discrete patterns that you could recolor. I would vastly prefer that the canon pattern is used as the in-game pattern with the skin system. I'm disappointed. It's not like I'm not going to buy the expansion over that or anything, but disappointing. Yeah, so giving players more ways to personalize the research sites. We tried to strike the balance between inspiration and creative interpretation with the alternate skins. So each of the species comes to life believably in their own way, while also showing a little personality and flair. And then when we get bored, we don't have time, we add frontier splotches. Check out the Jurassic World Evolution 3 Rebirth expansion page for more information. Is there actually more information there? I feel like there isn't. Let me check. Yeah, that just points you back to the original, like release article. Okay, well, designing the skins based on Rebirth, the team used shots from the film as references to make each one as accurate as possible. Every aspect was matched as closely as possible to make sure the dinosaurs and with make okay, hold on. Make sure the dinosaurs, like the giant sky dominating Quetzalcoatlus, have the same presence they did in the film. Not a dinosaur. I'm not going to be too pedantic about that. I understand not wanting to say dinosaurs and flying reptiles every time they talk about dinosaurs in the article. It's understandable. It's actually fine in this context to call it a dinosaur. Because it's just shorthand for, like, in-game essential shorthand for animals. But, I gotta highlight it there. Some people will be like, you didn't notice. And like, no, I noticed. It just doesn't matter at the end of the day. Not only did the character team work on dazzling skins for the new species in JWE3 Rebirth expansion, they also created some fantastic new skins inspired by the movie variants for the existing base game adult dinosaurs from Jurassic World Evolution 3, including the Tyrannosaurus Rex, Spinosaurus Mosa, and more. What's the and more? What else? What the? Oh, I guess the Kets is technically and more. Weird to just not list them all and just say and more. I guess, like, because this is specifically talking about the variants, not like the skins, like for the Dilo and the Raptor. Well, anyway. And once we covered the flying species, we turned back to the land-based species, such as the tiny Aqualops. As the Aqualops was one of the species that required a full family unit, the team had to look at paleo research when designing the model for the juvenile. Using the film quality model provided, the team looked at any paleontological research we had and interpreted it to make the most accurate juvenile Aqualops they could. I've seen a little bit of discussion about inaccuracies in the Aqualops. I don't know. It'd be kind of funny if like the juvenile was more accurate than the adult, because the adult has to be based more on the film design. But I don't know if that would be the case. Since it already was a small species, we had to consider how much smaller the young would be. By looking at key features of the adult model, we've been given the realistically sized and mounted juvenile model to complete the family unit, which is what this, grayscale render here shows. Once we had both the juvenile and adult models to make a full family unit for the Aqualops, the team could look at the skin's adult dimorphism for the species, and like some of the predatory dinosaurs in JWE3, the small herbivore wants to blend in its environment, so the pattern leads more towards earthy colors that will camouflage it from danger. I feel like that would land better, like earthy colors for the color palette. This would land better if this wasn't like inconsistent in the game between different animals. Sometimes they make animals very flashy in a way that's not very realistic, and that's fine. And other times they make animals with more realistic color palettes. And, that's fine too, I guess. But I feel like ideally you would have a selection of realistic colors and a selection of flashier colors and allow players to make that distinction, rather than making the distinction on an animal by animal basis sometimes, and then other times not doing it, right? Like pulling the trigger on making the Aqualops color palette realistic to help them camouflage is great and all, but it's very inconsistent with like the depiction of like the Microceratus, right? So I think the idealized solution would just be to make half the colors that and make the other half flashier. But I mean, the Aqualops looks good for what it is. Like it's a fine addition to the roster. It's just another small ceratopsian, which is like great. It's a film canon animal. It should be in the game. I'm not saying it shouldn't be in the game. I'm just saying it's inherently not going to be super exciting because Psittacosaurus and Microceratus already exist. All right, making moves. Once the character team has adapted the models to make them perfect for in-game use, they get passed to our rig and animation team to bring them to life with movement. The process starts with a detailed look at the film to observe and note into the interactions and behaviors we see, so they can accurately map out the way each species moves in context. So this also gives us a good idea of what might be missing from the list of behaviors we need to animate for dinosaurs in game. Well, we see the Mutodon wreak havoc on Ile Saint Hubert. We don't see them relaxing their enclosures or interacting with some of the other dinosaurs, so to match our other species, we need to develop a full collection of animated behaviors. And we just got a little clip of the Mutodon from the reveal trailer. Not only do we draw on Rebirth as in reference for each of the species, we look at some of the animals that were used as reference for the movement in the film. As a combination of velociraptors and pterosaurs, Mutodons are cunning predators that need to move naturally on land and air. Do they move naturally on land and air when it's physically impossible for them to fly, and yet they do? Debatable. Making them an interesting challenge is we never had a species quite like this in a Jurassic World Evolution game before. Yeah, why is that? It's almost like they're monsters that don't belong in the franchise. We look to universal products and experiences, the use of condors and vultures as inspiration for the way mutodons might move, as they have similar locomotion when navigating the transition from air to land. This is just the Mutodon trailer. We're not going to watch this. The Mutodon wasn't the only interesting animal to animate in the Rebirth expansion. We worked together with the narrative team to make sure each species' behaviors reflect their inferred nature. In the Distortus Rex trailer, again, we're not going to watch that. The Distortus Rex, for instance, is a brand new, terrifying predator created at the main facility on Ile Saint-Hubert that has been forced into existence by scientists pushing the boundaries of nature without care for the consequences. These origins frame how we approach the animation of the Distortus Rex using awkward movements such as lashing out with immense aggression to communicate that it may be in pain as discomfort as it travels around its environment. Due to the Distortus Rex's additional limbs and the way it favors its hind legs in the film, we also looked at how gorillas maneuver to create realistic movements for this new apex predator. Yeah, except gorillas have anatomy that's entirely different than a dinosaur, and therefore using them as an animation reference is inherently flawed. In particular, the wrist mobility of an ape is going to be dramatically different than a archosaur. Anyway, not going to harp on that anymore. Titanosaurus. The Titanosaurus is another new species featured in the Rebirth expansion and one of the largest species we had to animate in a Jurassic World Evolution game. There were several hurdles the animation team faced with this giant sauropod, the first of which is its size when interacting with a hatchery. This graceful dinosaur has a long, slender tail and tall neck, meaning our clever animation team had to use their talents to keep the Titanosaurus concealed within the smaller hatchery before emerging successfully and making its way into an enclosure. Yeah, that's kind of an underappreciated aspect of these animals, maybe, when it comes to their implementation in game. This tail is insane. It's insanity. It kind of makes me want a Seismosaurus or something in this game, like a new Diplodocid with a proper long whip tail like this guy has, whipping around. Because, like, the Diplo we do have, its tail is very static. And this tail is so lively, it really makes me want a new Diplodocus. But we already have Diplo, so, like a Seismosaurus. Is Barosaurus a Diplodocid? I think it might be. That could be another good one. Or like a Lost World Mamenchisaurus that gets a little bit more whiptail action going on. Because the Lost World Mamenchisaurus, spoilers, is just a Seismosaurus. It's not actually Mamenchisaurus. It's just called that for some mysterious reason. Anyway, where were we? Titanosaurus, size hurdles, hatchery, emerging, yes. And Titanosaurus trailer. Second animation hurdle was the Titanosaurus's tail itself. Memorably revealed by its iconic appearance in the movie, the swishing tail had to be true to its film appearance and interact correctly with the world around it. Designed to move gracefully, the team worked to ensure this magnificent tail cooperated with its surroundings to help minimize clipping, fenced through buildings, fences, and foliage at the risk of breaking players' immersion in their wonder of the island's innovative species. Yeah, new tail technology and reduced clipping, if that's actually noticeable in game, is going to be very interesting. Again, makes me want a new Diplodocus to have this kind of thing going on. I think that'd be super fun. Once our dinosaurs looked fantastic and interacted with the world around them realistically, we moved on to one of the final steps, giving them a voice. Talking with dinosaurs. Oh, it's a walking with dinosaurs pun. Well played. Good job, Frontier. Fantastic. This just clicked. That's very funny. Creating the sounds of vocalizations for the new species of JWE3 Rebirth was an interesting process, as the majority of dinosaurs unique to the film, requiring close collaboration with UPE and Skywalker Sounds. The audio team started their research. I don't know, is Skywalker Sounds like the sound studio used by Universal for the film, or is this a service, a separate thing that they use for the game? I'm not familiar with this. I assume this is connected with George Lucas in some way, just given the name, but who knows? The audio team started their research by watching each of the individual dinosaur scenes. I'm not saying George Lucas did the sound design for the game, by the way. I'm just saying, maybe this is a sound design studio he founded back in the day for, some Star Wars shit. I don't know. The audio team started the research by watching each of the individual dinosaur scenes in Rebirth and making notes of how each species is portrayed. Then we compared these scenes to the audio sources we were given, analyzing how the vocalizations would be used, matching calls to behaviors and interactions. Much like the animation team, this allows the audio team to see where there were any potential gaps in the vocalization profiles. Since we don't see moments of downtime in Rebirth, we need to create a full set of in-game vocalizations for any interaction like eating, drinking, or hunting. To add to that feeling that each of the dinosaurs is really alive. And this was the preview video, undisclosed location. To create this set of vocalizations for each species, we have two ways to build the additional interaction sounds. First, team goes through the audio sources from Skywalker Sounds. Okay, so these are the film sounds. This is not a service or something that they use. This is from the movie, which makes more sense given the Star Wars reference. That'd be a movie thing, not a game thing. To see if they can be edited or expanded into more call variations. Then, if we can't find appropriate sources, we will reverse engineer the original audio to create new sounds for certain behaviors, using the same or similar sources of audio and being guided by how the original vocalizations have been processed for the film to build a complete picture. To do this, we looked at the animals that inspired each species, including some of the zoos where some of the sounds were recorded. Working with the team at Skywalker Sounds, we also learned that they had used some really unique sounds to create species calls, roars, and vocalizations, such as their own pets, rubber oven mitts squeaking on countertops, and even some extremely slowed down bird calls, which is a great source for dinosaur sounds. Going through these steps allowed us to make sure we had a full set of audio for each species, whether it's peacefully roaming or breaking out and causing chaos. Then they say, wish was the expansion. From adapting 3D film models and designing unique patterns to develop movement and vocalizations, every team took care to bring these animals to life. Every step in the process brings a level of detail to these new innovative species we hope you love as you discover the groundbreaking secrets the island has to offer. And then another trailer. So yeah, that's everything here in the article. Not like any real revelatory new information, although the tail technology is definitely compelling to me. I definitely want to see. I'm very curious to see if this actually lives up to the hype on the reduced clipping. But it's always worth taking a look at this kind of stuff. So yeah, we'll be streaming the game when it's out tomorrow afternoon. And probably another time during the week at some point in our regular stream on Saturday. It's the release week, so we got to get some extra content in there. So yeah, we'll have the campaign as episodes on the channel after the stream. So if you don't want to watch the whole live stream, there'll be those with some of the downtime potentially cut out coming up on the channel pretty much right away. We'll take a look at some of the systems and other stuff, see what's in Sandbox. We'll look at any other changes in the free update and the expansion that might not have been revealed ahead of time, and do the whole coverage on that kind of stuff as well. So join us for that. So until tomorrow.